Good morning, Vietnam. Good morning. I don't think I could do it justice. The Good Morning Vietnam intro from.
Good morning, Sean. Yeah, that's what's best. That's all I got.
Well, listen,
It's Tuesday. That's all I got.
it's a low energy Tuesday. I got 4 hours sleep. I'm rock and roll. I'm all ready to go. What do we got here? Somebody said they got a ticket. 78 and a 50 today after 14 months. What is this? Oh, they got a ticket, 78 and a 50. Today, after 14 months, they made a call, and they were told that the ticket is D. I don't know what that means. Part of very short characters permitted inside here. Hey, good morning. We're live on the big box, which is amazing. Now we're live on the big box and have been for a minute. I wasn't paying attention. I can start by saying, welcome to Ask a Traffic Cop. My name is Sean Shapiro, and I answer your traffic and police questions for an hour on most weekdays, like 99% of weekdays. Occasionally I take days off, and then nothing happens because I'm not here. Actually, sometimes I do it from home. Anyway, this is this great opportunity to ask the questions you need the answers to, but haven't had the resources or opportunity to speak to an officer about. If it's traffic law, traffic safety, police stuff in general, we talk about recruiting. We'll really talk about it. Donuts. I had a donut this morning. Did you have a donut?
I did not.
There was an elf who came by with a box of Krispy Kreme, and my thing is Krispy Kreme. I can't say no. So it wasn't raspberry filled. It was not raspberry filled, but it was still acceptable.
We'll have to talk to Iris about that.
You just outed Iris as being an elf.
Yep, I did.
If you're watching and have questions, use the Q&A functionality. It's available on TikTok. It's available on Instagram. And if you are on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, or Facebook, you can simply go in and chat with us. It just works. Now, if you're on Twitter, I apologize in advance. You can hear, see, but no talkie. So if you want to chat with us and do that interactive business that we call live streaming, well, then you can join us by hopping onto one of the other platforms. I think that with all the stuff going on Twitter with Elon's revamping, I hope he can fix the bug that doesn't allow the questions to come through, because it used to work.
Right. So the most basic part of it is not working.
Yes.
So.
Well, you can certainly tweet, but the tweets don't get through to Restream. They changed the API. They used to have something called Periscope. Worked great. They turned it into Twitter Live, and no longer live.
API. What's an API?
I don't actually know what an API is. What is an API?
I don't know. I asked you.
See, we talk about the fact that I that I use acronyms, but this is what is an API? API is what's hot in API? API programming. Application Programming Interface. I had to Google it because I just call it API like that's the name, but it's an acronym. I use a lot of acronyms. Policing is a world of acronyms, and sometimes I forget that you may not know what that acronym means. So if I use an acronym and you don't know what it is, please let me know.
I'll try to catch them for you.
I appreciate that. There was a button here. What was the button? Hey, if you're watching and you think somebody you know might be interested in things we have to say, if you think that there's a value that you share with your friends, please share, regardless of the platform. Like and share this live stream, because we want to know that we're getting to as many people who might find value in what we do. Also, I just put up a poll on TikTok. Just curious if you are in Ontario or elsewhere. So if you're in Ontario, vote yes. If you're not in Ontario, vote no. The poll remains open for 5 minutes. Just want to get an idea of who's in the room. And if you want to let us know where you're at, let us know where you're at, because we're always interested to know about our audience. We want to know about you. Now,
hey, Sean.
Yeah.
Who am I?
That's a really good point. I thought about telling people who you were and then glossed over that as we went down the API rabbit hole. Joining me off camera, but a familiar voice, Sergeant Murray Campbell, who is a media relations officer and the towing and pound sergeant and man of many talents. He also knows off-road stuff, and I know nothing about off-road stuff other than I can go from. I can actually. I've never ridden a skidoo. Snowmobile. Not brand name, right? That's a brand name, but I grew up calling it a skidoo. And I've seen them. I've looked at. I've never ridden one. Dirt bikes I have ridden, and I'm a motorcycle guy. So we between us, we're both motorcycle operators. We can talk about motorcycles all day long. Winter, snow, off-road stuff. That's really a Sergeant Campbell thing. But yeah, we're here to answer all your questions. So throw it out there. Let us know what you want to know, and we will get into all of those. Quick shout out to Chase, who's coming in from Woodstock today. he travels all over the place all the time, always checking in from different places. Akela Draconis with greetings and salutations, and he has a vision appointment, so he cannot stay, but he wanted to say hello.
Ah, I see.
A warning to all: dad jokes happen here. Yes, they do. We and as soon as that poll, we have 16 questions that have popped in already into the Q&A. I will be getting to those as soon as the poll closes in just a few minutes. And I want to let everybody know that we are ready to start talking about stuff and things. But first, we have the Vision Zero enforcement team. What is the Vision Zero enforcement team? Well, I'll tell you. It's because you asked. I'm going to tell you.
Sean?
Yes?
What's the Vision Zero enforcement team?
The VZ team. See, I'm now going the other way into the acronym world. Vision Zero enforcement team is a dedicated group of officers that go out every single day to change driver behavior. They're trying to make the road safer for everybody. They do it one ticket at a time. No hugs are given. And today they are spending time in 13 Division and 53 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Yorkdale, Glen Park, Briar Hill, Witchwood, Oakwood, Vaughan, Lawrence Park, Yonge and Eglinton, Leaside. And I've named just a few of the neighborhoods that make up the community of the divisional boundaries that are being spent, that they're spending time in. And I might mention those because those are the ones I know. And those are the ones that went out on Twitter. But there are many more. And we are out there trying to make the roads safer for everybody. Now, analysts spend time going through the numbers and determining where everyone should be every day because they are the big brain people who send us forth to ticket and change behavior. But we're all over the city. This is not the only place that enforcement is taking place. What did I want? I was going to tell you something. Oh, the Big Four. What they're actually focused on. Sergeant Campbell.
The Big Four: impaired driving, distracted driving, aggressive driving, and speeding.
Speeding is really a big one. And I was shocked today. It's colder. There was frost on the window, a little bit slippery on the side roads, and people were passing me like I wasn't moving on the highway. Really, really aggressive driving on the way in. And I mean, as a group, a mob of aggressive drivers, I would estimate that they were doing about 130 on average. That's too fast for this kind of road road conditions. And if they hit anything slippery, it would have been finished. That was my sound. That's a new sound effect.
Is that the sound of when things are finished right there?
Actually, what do you call a fish with no eye?
The fish.
Yeah, that is a Jose Camacho joke that has just, it's gone viral. Everyone's going to say this joke. It's a joke that he once told me, and I can't. It gets stuck in my head. Okay, the poll should be over. Let's see. Was it still in progress? How can it still be in progress? So far, 81% say they are in Ontario. 81.25%, 18.75% thus not in, and it's 14 seconds left. 5 minutes takes a long time when you're waiting for it. But that's awesome. This is a cool poll. The polling function's a kind of cool thing inside of TikTok that we don't use nearly as much as we'd like to. So that's me making an effort trying to use the cool functions. So
you
yes.
know what? We can kind of tailor our answers if we know who we're talking to. So
well, or tell you.
Helps.
Or tell you that we don't know the answer.
Right.
And so the deal is, if you didn't know, we are in Ontario, and as such, we talk about Ontario law. We know the basic stuff for other places, but we focus on Ontario. So let's get into the Q&A business. Is it legal to punch an officer if he is rude? Well, physical force is not permitted. That is assault. Rude does not meet the grade for self-defense. So I imagine if you did that because you had strong feelings about their behavior, you might end up being arrested. Oh, I'd actually lean towards probably be arrested.
I would more lean to you will be arrested. Yes.
Yeah. Do not make physical contact with anybody that is unwanted, rude or not. You may not agree with somebody, but spending the rest of your day in jail and awaiting bail is probably a bad deal.
You know what? Rude is not against the law. But if you do have a complaint about an officer's behavior, there are avenues you can go down to make those complaints.
And we've recently talked about that on a video where someone was unhappy with the conduct of a police officer or an operator. I wasn't really clear who was the person who said what was alleged to have said. or being said. But yeah, call a sergeant. You can call a supervisor and discuss those things. And if you need to put a complaint in, you can put a complaint in. We care. People that
Yep.
wear this uniform or represent all of us. We care what is being said and done when they're working.
Absolutely. We have our own internal investigations, and there are outside agencies as well that investigate the conduct of the police.
Yeah, we're not afraid of these things. And amazingly, we do record a lot of things. We have body-worn cameras. We have dash cameras with microphones. We have telephone lines that are recorded. If someone said something they shouldn't have said, we're going to know. And if they didn't, we're going to know that too. We have a question: why don't regulate getting a license harder? Which I think they're trying to say that it's too easy to get a driver's license. The general skill and ability of drivers on the road today isn't where it should be. And I think that's actually very accurate. I think we used to have a much better process. Has the process changed, or is it the amount of practical driving changed? What something's changed?
Yeah, something has changed. You know what? The driving behavior of the public out there has changed as well. I don't know if it's because there's more volume of drivers out there that we see it more. I don't know if our infrastructure is not able to handle the volume, and because of that, it causes different driver behaviors. I'm not really sure, but you know what? Other jurisdictions have a tougher, more involved process of getting a driver's license, and people hold their driver's license a little more.
They respect it.
Absolutely.
They want to make sure they keep it. There's a gentleman who may be watching right now. We are friends on LinkedIn, and he moved from Ontario to Ireland. He was Ireland. He was Scotland. In any case, he was driving there with the learners, and they have graduated licensing. Even if you're an adult, even if you were previously licensed somewhere else, you have to do a certain number of hours of driving, I believe, and have testing. And he never got his full license. As someone who'd been driving for years and years in Ontario with a full license, he did not qualify and stopped driving there. It wasn't worth it.
Oh, wow.
Very expensive, he said, to drive. And
It is.
There's so many things. So people who drive there are truly better drivers. Not only there, but Germany. Most of Europe has very stringent testing. They also have very strict enforcement of rules. So, people here don't know how good they got it. They have lower requirements to meet, and we have the best prices on tickets in the entire country of Canada.
Really?
We're the lowest price tickets for speeding, and many is like a stop sign here is $110. In Alberta, Brooks, Alberta, $400.
Wow,
It's a bargain here when you break the law if
kinda
you don't kill
what
somebody.
It should be.
It should be much higher. And there's been a lot of discussion about raising it. And I hope they do, because right now people just do what they want. They don't really feel like there's any consequences. Can I operate a vehicle out of Canada with a G2? Actually, yes, you can. If you are a G2 driver, you have conditions. You must maintain those conditions regardless of where you're driving. So if you drive into Buffalo, New York, you still have to have 0 BAC, blood alcohol content. You still have provisions between midnight and 5 a.m. With the number of passengers under 20 in the first year that you are driving. So those things must be maintained, because if you get charged, you could be suspended and have other consequences. But you are a driver that's eligible to drive interprovincially as well as internationally. They do, but G1 drivers, your G1 learner's permit when you're being supervised by a G-class driver is not valid outside of Ontario. Interesting. Oh, a question from Chase. He wants to know if that is a Apple Watch Ultra. It is. It was a birthday present to myself, and I quite like it. The battery lasts a long time.
Happy birthday, me.
Yes, happy birthday, me. I just spent a ridiculous amount of money on a watch.
You know what? I need to update mine.
Update or upgrade?
Update. I have a smartwatch as well,
It's not that smart because it's not an Apple.
but it's Android, which I believe is the better platform.
Yes. One of the things that Sergeant and I differ on is platforms. He prefers Android. I don't accept Android as an option.
Short-sighted. Follow the man.
Well, you know what? I don't need to change the icons on my apps. I don't need to customize things. I just need them to work properly and interface with everything else that I own. So that's why I'm there. That should be a survey unto itself. Apple or Android? I'm curious. Maybe we'll do one later on. Okay. Is there a no chase law in Ontario for motorcycles? A chase law? No. But we do factor in public safety in every situation. It has to be the appropriate response for the appropriate offense.
Yeah, absolutely. an offense could be a traffic offense. Mm-hmm. It could be lower on the scale than, say, maybe somebody wanted for a homicide, or actively endangering somebody. So, as our regular answer is,
Depends.
it depends.
And you got to put it this way. Do we want to chase you for breaking the law? Sure. Everyone wants to chase. Is that smart? Is it smart for you to run? Is it smart for us to chase? And what happens when we chase? People tend to go faster because they want to get away. And they may be very motivated to get away. The problem is most riders aren't very skilled. Most riders tend to crash, and then bad things happen. They hurt other people, so it doesn't make sense. What we do like to do is take your license plate down, meet you at your house, and arrest you there.
Yep, absolutely.
It's a much better option.
We have other ways of getting it done safer.
So I like that, and I'm glad you asked the question. A lot of people want to know about this. The sad truth is most people want to know because they want to know if they can run away from the police, and it's just not a bad. If you're grown up enough to operate a motor vehicle, be grown up enough to pay insurance and stop when you get caught breaking the law, or even better, don't break the law, and everyone is better for it.
Yep.
Why is the body cam not on all the time? Well, we go to the bathroom and we have sensitive information that isn't to be recorded, but there is a guide for when it should be activated and when it should be deactivated. And if it isn't on when it's supposed to be on, I imagine there are consequences.
Yeah, you know what? For the most part, every interaction with a member of the public, it'll be on.
Oh my.
Oh, you?
Oh my. Big Jeff Fresh says, Apple versus Android. I believe that's another tick in the Sean was wrong column.
Oh, yes.
That might be the first burn I've ever received that actually hurt.
I like this guy. Yeah.
That's Big Jeff Fresh who's mouthing off. Well, now I know just how strong our friendship is, Big Jeff. I thought we meant something. Okay. Let's see here. Joining us momentarily is another sergeant. This sergeant is on microphone number 2. Let me know when you're all set up, and I will give you.
There's a plethora of sergeants.
A plethora. What a great word. And the microphone is hot.
Hello. Good morning.
Sergeant Kulik, welcome to the party.
Thank you.
We've been talking about Android versus iPhone.
And what do you think?
Well, I had a BlackBerry for years. I love that with a little trackball. And now I'm an iPhone user. So I don't know. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't spend the money on iPhone. I really don't think their stuff's worth it. And I'm not a fan of Apple at all. So, yeah.
It's fighting words.
Yeah. But since everything.
That's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
I got to say that I was a BlackBerry user for years and years, and it took a long time for me to get over the lack of keyboard. Boy, this is the least traffic talk we've had in a while. But I miss having the chiclet keyboard. I loved my BlackBerry. I had one since back in 2000 or 2001 when there was no phone involved with BlackBerry. It was just a text device. I really enjoyed it.
A PDA.
It was a PDA, but there was a wireless communication enabled. There was I think it was anyway. I still have it. I hold it once in a while and miss the days when I could type without looking at the screen. Can the police lay charges to drivers who drive recklessly, doing donuts and drifting in empty parking lots? Oddly enough, we don't call it reckless driving. That's at least not a term used in Ontario. We have dangerous driving, which is a criminal offense, and yes, we can certainly lay charges for dangerous driving anywhere. But we have laws called stunt driving laws in Ontario. It's under the Highway Traffic Act, and we can lay those charges on private property for driving behavior that's seen on private property.
Yeah, there was an amendment to the law that happened about a year ago, and it's to stop the takeover events, the car meets in parking lots where they're showing off, drifting, putting people in danger. Not a closed course area. So
there are exceptions. A acknowledged racetrack is a legitimate place to stunt drive. There's proper safety measures and insurance, and it's permitted there. However, even if it's in your own farmer's field, you're the farmer and it's your field, you can't do it. And if we're not hanging out in your garage, but if it was seen indoors or outdoors even, because the legislation even includes above or below ground parking lots. Like, it is really complete.
Yep.
Obviously, because people have chosen to do those things in those places. The consequences of doing stunt driving, whether it be on road or off, are the following: 14-day impound of your vehicle, 30-day license suspension, and that's just roadside. Then you start getting into, well, what happens when I'm convicted? You're looking at a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition, a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, and up to 6 months in jail. So it's serious. And your insurance, yeah, they will love the new rates if you can afford to pay them. Because that's I think that the people in the insurance business actually salivate when they see these things.
Or they just boot you out and you have to go somewhere else.
And actually, I wonder, do you think it's salivating because they get to charge extra money, or are they actually terrified because you're a high risk driver and they're statisticians? What do they call those people? The
Analysts?
no, there's another word for it. I can't remember what it's called. My buddy Joey is one of those people, and I can't think of what it's called. Actuary. It's an actuary. He's the real number people. Can I drive in Florida with a Canadian license? Yeah, you can.
For a certain period of time.
Well, yes, not indefinitely when you're visiting. And the same thing is if you are from elsewhere and you're visiting here, we accept visitors with foreign licenses.
And you can pretty much, most countries, obviously check before you leave home. But for the most part, you can drive in another country with your license. However, you may need an international driver's license. And that's simply going to, for us in Ontario, to CAA. And they issue you an international license, which I don't know the exact cost, but there is a small fee to it, and it's kind of like a passport with your picture in it and so on. And I will tell you from personal experience driving in, well, I was on the back of a motorcycle, but in India, and my partner had the international driver's license, and we were asked for it, and because we were able to produce it, there was no issues. So,
and that's really required in countries where English isn't a language that's understood, because it's got to be, it's translating the words on the page into other languages so they know which box to go for what things. It's not a license so much as a translation card.
Yeah, it isn't a license on its own.
No.
You have to actually have a driver's license to be eligible to get a international driver's license that translate what your driver's license says.
Yes. When I was 16 years old, I got my international driver's license, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to be an international man of mystery. I felt like James Bond with that special card. I wonder if I still have that. It's very fancy.
it's only applicable to the countries that you put it in.
Is that right? I don't. It's a long time ago since I had it. Does parking enforcement? Oh, first of all, why is the character limit so low? I cannot ask. Yes, it is. That is a TikTok thing. You must. We need to start protesting TikTok to extend their character limit, which is quite low. Try acronyms. I don't know. People use all to speak and challenge me for my ability to decode their questions. +1 for Sergeant Kulik. Didn't find Apple to be best and switched to the dark side.
Woo woo.
Does parking enforcement have authority to stop you? To stop you from parking somewhere? No, they do not have the authority to stop a motor vehicle. They can't pull you over.
No, but they can stop somebody to investigate, say for a handicap
Accessible
parking permit. An
yes.
accessible permit. They can stop you. They can request to examine it, and if you refuse, it's an offense.
Yes. They have the authority to seize those.
They do.
But they don't do traffic stops. They don't pull you over to do it. So if you were in the process of parking, they would have the ability to then interact with you, and you would have to comply. And guess what? If you choose not to, they have your license plate. They would be able to likely be able to, from the name or permit number on the front, if they're at that point, they've already seen it, cancel the validity of that permit. There's a whole team that's what they do. They investigate that offense.
And you know what? I'm glad they're there, because the people that really do need accessible permits really do need them.
100%.
And they don't need the people that are not in need of them using them and taking all the spots.
The rules around that are I mean, there are doctors who will give you one and they're questionable. So at least be legit about it. But the people who simply use other people's or stolen permits, that's a whole different ball of wax. And there are people with counterfeit permits. It's really a disgusting thing to do. Can you vape in your car, driver or passenger? It's a good question. We've talked about this before. Vaping, like cigarette smoking, if it's not an illegal substance that's being inhaled, is not an issue. However, there is a condition under the Ontario Smoke-Free Ontario Act, and that is you can't have anybody in the vehicle that is under 16 years of age when you do it, or you can be charged. Why TPS don't name impaired drivers like others do? I think we did at one point, and there was a spelling error or some error that went out and they stopped, or maybe it was other services that were doing it, like York used to do it.
You know what? Unfortunately, we get quite a few of them.
We do.
We would have a long list. Unfortunately, very sad.
And a lot of the smaller communities, they're putting out local newspapers, and they may not have the amount like Sergeant Campbell said. So they'll post them. But for us, it's sort of standard media, and I don't know that the standard media would report on that every day.
I will say this and this is just going. We do report numbers though, and we have due to our friend Scott Matthews, a detective constable downstairs, reported on December 12th, which was yesterday. He tweeted that over the weekend, 24 people were arrested for impaired operation, including 2 drivers on the wrong side of the road, a driver that hit a TTC bus, and 8 drivers that were at least double the limit. So
that's just the weekend.
That's just the week. That's
sadly, very
That's from
sadly.
Friday 6 p.m. till Monday 6 a.m. That's what encompasses the weekend. And
people should know too, like RIDE program is out there year round, but we do a lot of advocating for it this time of year, being around Christmas, and we do have more resources out there that are stopping vehicles, and you should know that at any point you can be stopped and asked to be given or to give a sample of your breath to see if you're impaired or not. So it's all out there for safety, and unfortunately we're still catching people. Like, I don't know how much more we can do to say don't drink and drive. You have many options, cabs, Ubers, whatever, friends to drive you home, or have a designated driver. So it's just not worth it for so many reasons.
And people make the argument that, well, I live in a rural community and there's no good transit. It's not an excuse. You're putting lives at risk, your own being one of them.
I live in a rural community with no public transit. So, and I grew up in that community, and we made alternate arrangements. So, I mean, it's always availability of other options has always been there, and it always will be. So just make smart choices.
Drink at home. If you're going to drink at home, and with a plan to stay at home. That's easy. If drinking is the goal.
Problem solved.
See? Akela Jacona says, funny talk of handicap permit reminded me in my wife's car, and it had her permit instead of mine just before I was going to park in an accessible spot. So 2 permits, 2 people, both eligible for them, but they had the wrong permit in the wrong car, and you can't use somebody else's permit.
No, you cannot. Even though you're eligible for it, you could end up with it seized, and then your wife without one.
That actually happened, and I've spoken about it before. My friend Aaron, who's a restaurateur in Toronto, his son is someone who requires it, is in a wheelchair. He pulled up to the side, dropped his wife off with his son, and then went off and pulled into a parking spot that was accessible, not realizing that the person that owns or is eligible for that permit must be in the car when you use the permit. So he thought he was doing the right thing, lost his permit as a result, and obviously really needed it back. So there was a learning curve when he was new to the game of accessible permits.
You know what? If you're going to be the nice person to be able to drop somebody off at the door, park in a regular spot. Because you're obviously going to be able to go get the car and pick them up again.
Absolutely. Here's a good question, and it's a question that we've again, a lot of these, we talk about a lot of things a lot, but there's always a developing new version and nuance attached to it. So here, why is a 50cc bicycle legal, not 50cc motorcycle? And that's making an assumption because it's not legal.
Absolutely hard no on that.
Hard no. I like that.
Yeah. No. The bicycle conversions, I'm all over them. That you've made a homemade motorcycle that is not safe, not safety compliant, and doesn't have insurance, license, helmet, everything.
It is a motorcycle.
You're done. I would be laying so many charges on you. You wouldn't be able to afford a motorcycle.
And we're only lucky that both of us are in the office more than we're out of the office. Otherwise, those people would really no. We see a lot of them, and usually I see them when I'm off duty.
Yeah.
I've had some educational conversations with people off duty though, where they say, I've been driving this for years. No one's ever said anything. A lot of people don't understand what the rules, and a lot of cops don't understand because not every cop is a traffic cop. They may dream of one day becoming one, but they are not traffic cops. And you can't expect everybody to know everything. But that said, there's a marketing attempt at some companies that are selling these products. You can buy them on Amazon, as far as I know, and eBay and Etsy, and not Etsy, the other one, Alibaba. People are buying these 49cc's under the belief that they're legal. Well, the sad truth is you're looking at $5,000 to $25,000 in fines for driving a motor vehicle on the road with no insurance. You're looking at driving without a license if you're unlicensed. You're looking at unsafe vehicle. You're looking at, there's a ton of charges. So much
proper tires, no helmet, improper
brakes,
helmet,
muffler.
Unsafe brakes, the muffler, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. It's just a silly thing to do. You wouldn't ever think of making your own car unless you're in the business of making cars. So why would you just take something and throw a motor in it and drive down the street?
Well, because you can do it without a motor. And then people say, well, what about e-bikes? They're just the same thing except electric. Except if they're still motor vehicles, but under the rules as written, if they're electric powered, under 500 watts, incapable of going beyond 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface, have proper brakes, then they qualify as e-bikes, but they're e-bikes, electric.
And they are motorcycles as well. They're electric powered motorcycles with an exemption that you don't need a license or insurance or a license plate on it. That's the only thing. They are electric motorcycles.
And people get confused. And some people believe that mopeds are not requiring license, ownership, and insurance, and they are requiring a license. I think it changed in 2008, that where it used to be a G license acceptable for mopeds. Like when I grew up, you could have a G license and ride a moped.
Yep.
And that changed. I think it was 2008, where you have to have a motorcycle license. So things have changed. Laws evolve. We keep you up to date with us. If you follow us, hey, thanks for following us. If you don't follow us, you really should follow us, because we go live Monday to Friday, assuming I show up for work, and then we talk about stuff and things. It's
Stuff and things?
Stuff and things.
Stuff
Not
and
stuffing things. But that's for Thanksgiving, turkeys. James McDonald.
Turkey.
Well, one thing. First of all, we had an article shared, CTV News in Kitchener. Article says 80-year-old charged with stunt driving on the 401. That means
Wowza.
it's not just the young folk who go too fast. It's all folks. And so we'll get into some more stuff. Actually, okay, well, fine. We'll just hit this button here. Why are the 401 speeds out of control? All speeds. People are going too fast on a regular basis. Why do you think that is? We shake it.
Because they haven't been caught yet.
Yes.
Because there's not enough of us out there to do it properly.
And that is the spin-off question as well. When everyone's speeding, who do you pull over? And as many as possible.
Absolutely. Everyone.
And that goes back to, it's got to be early 2000s when I know Highway 410 in Brampton, I don't know other ones, but had photo radar. And so once everybody knew about it, people went the speed limit. It's amazing. And that lasted for a while, and then it went away.
You know what? We were talking about Europe earlier on a trip over to Great Britain this summer. Their photo radar actually isn't just location-based. It is duration-based. So it takes a license plate, after the last exit, and it takes a license plate before the next exit. Could be 6, 7, 8 miles down the road, and it averages your speed out and will give you a ticket. So it's not like we
It's
can
not
do
just
here.
peak. It's.
Yep, absolutely. So
I wonder if you can charge per the minute that you're exceeding the speed limit.
So it's a good thing, because we all know that there's signs up that says photo radar is photo speed enforcement is in effect, and everybody seems to slow down, drive past it, then speed right back up again.
No good.
That would put a stop to it.
No good. I like it. I think photo radar should be everywhere. Not everyone agrees. Let's see. This is a Chase question.
2 things. First, you should do a poll to see how many of your viewers exceed the speed limit on the highway, just for curiosity. Then the second thing is there a charge for opening your door into traffic, or is it just a stupid thing to do? Like, if you have to open your door, people have to swerve around you, could you get fined for something under HCA?
As a matter of fact, you can. Is it unsafely opening one's door? I don't know the wording. I have to look it up. But there is a charge as I scroll through here.
Open vehicle door improperly. $100.
Yeah?
Yep.
And we actually do get calls, and they're labeled as doorings.
So
And that's how they come in.
we quite recently lobbied the government to make collisions between vehicle doors and bicyclists a reportable collision. So it doesn't meet the definition, because it's not the movement of a motor vehicle, its occupant or its load. And the bicycle isn't a motor vehicle, but now it is recorded down on a motor vehicle collision report.
It's amazing. It's a $365 ticket.
For opening your vehicle door improperly?
Yeah.
That changed.
I mean, you have
too
a
then.
few.
And leave vehicle door open is another charge. It's the B. It's the subsection B. It's $365 as well. Open the door of a motor vehicle on a highway without first taking due precautions to ensure that his or her act will not interfere with the movement or endanger any other person or vehicle. Wowza.
I mean, you do have a handful of mirrors in your car, or maybe turn
Or the
your
Dutch
head,
reach.
or your body, or I don't know.
Use
But
the Dutch reach.
You really shouldn't have a handful of mirrors. If your mirror's in your
Wow.
hand, maybe that's a bit of a problem.
That could be part of
Oh,
the
that's like a dad joke.
Well, it could be because you opened your door improperly and you now have your mirror in your hand.
parts of it. Here we go. Okay, Ahmed asked the question of questions. It's my favorite question to answer, but we're going to do something else first. First, Ethan says G1 1 month suspension effect 1 year G2 wait time. If you're suspended, the time whilst you are suspended does not count towards your progression to the next license. Likewise, if you have a 1 year suspension out of the 4 years of a driving experience you have, that does not count towards your ability to supervise a G1 driver once you're a G-class driver.
And there are certain offenses that reset your G1 back to the start again. As well.
So if you are suspended, if you receive a suspension or a ticket, 3 suspensions in a row. The first time it's 90 days, 30 days. Second time it's 90 days. The third time you get kicked out of the program, resetting your entire clock.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the one you were talking about.
Yep,
If there was
start
another
over.
one. Yeah, that's all money and all time. So yeah, bye
And
bye.
I'm gonna go with good luck getting insurance.
They make notes, you know that they keep a record of what clues. They are investigators too. Why is Ontario 90 kilometers an hour? That's super slow. Ontario isn't 90 kilometers an hour. The City of Toronto expressways are 90. Elsewhere, when you talk about provincial highways, they're generally 100. In some areas, recently they became 110. But it is a good question. Why is it 90? Well, I believe the Don Valley Parkway was once acknowledged as like the most dangerous highway in Canada, or something to that effect.
You know
like
what?
being so windy.
And only part of the Gardner is 90. I believe it's 100 up to the Humber Hump,
Well,
and that becomes 90, or somewhere in
technically, that's where it exits Toronto, and it becomes.
Nope.
Isn't it
Nope.
where it
Still-
takes over the
No,
Ontario?
still City of Toronto there,
Still City of Toronto.
all the way out to past Sherway.
I thought when the change that the ownership of that became.
Nope. Has to go out past the 427
What was
before
the
it becomes a
reason?
Q.
Okay, I'm mistaken with the stories that I've heard. I understood that we had that change in speed only because it was technically not us anymore.
It is posted. I mean, you just got to look for the sign.
Yeah, interesting. James McDonald says, listen to your podcast about commercial motor vehicles. You touched on new technologies. Some of the next-gen trucks have no visible side mirrors. New camera tech has screen inside as mirrors. Are they allowed in Ontario? And and James says, you were about to... See, I read this 10 minutes ago. He says, you were about to read my question and got squirreled elsewhere.
Oh, shocking.
Really? Sean Squirrel?
Never
Never.
happened.
No.
I deny. So the deal is that it was actually addressed in that conversation that some places don't acknowledge electronic replacements for mirrors. And I don't know if it's in the HTA to allow it. Ultimately, you need to have a clear view, but the clear view is stated as by mirror.
Right.
So would it be illegal to replace your vehicle's mirrors with cameras? At this point, it's questionable. It's not specifically outlined as acceptable. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to say that if a vehicle has electronic mirrors or electronic video screens and it's registered on Ontario, it must have passed transport.
it's
There
sold
are
here.
regulations, right?
Yeah. It's true. If it's sold here,
Yep. But our Highway Traffic Act sometimes takes a little while to catch up with technology.
if someone gave a ticket to a car that was sold and licensed and made available for sale here that was outfitted that way, I'm assuming that there'd be an argument.
That might be something you talk to the Ministry of Transportation about.
Yeah, but it was something that the independent. So the chap that I was talking to in that TikTok, he was saying that some things aren't legal. So I would say he's got his finger on the pulse when it comes to that. He says, let's not say replaced. Let's say manufactured that way. I like that. Why are cars sold that go faster than speed limit? I often question that myself.
Hey, that would solve a bit of the problems. You know what? Commercial motor vehicles, they were limited.
To 105.
They had a speed limiter on them.
They still do, don't they?
No, things have changed.
Really?
Yeah, there was a charter challenge and a safety concern that,
Wow.
and I believe something has temporarily changed with that right now.
I am
I'm
not
positive,
aware, but that's interesting. Yeah, because I hear about it a lot. That people say my truck is limited to 105. I can't go faster. They're upset that people are riding.
Maybe certain companies too actually put the limiters on, right?
Well, there's no reason to go beyond the speed limit, mind you. With the new speed limit being 110 on certain highways, there would be. In any case, why are they making them? Because they can. And at the end of the day, you have that wonderful thing called free will, and you can choose to break the law or not. And hopefully, if you choose to break the law, you stand up and take responsibility for it because it's not allowed.
And if you think about it, if you were going to set a limit and can't go above it, what would that be? Because if you set it, say, at 100, because that's the maximum speed on the highway, well, if the speed limit's a 40 somewhere, doesn't still preclude you from going 100, right?
It's true. So maybe what we need is that GPS and satellite activation so that you can only go the maximum speed on the speed you are going and not go faster.
Or just self-regulation.
Well, that's what we have now, and well, it works wonders, doesn't it? Can we drink alcohol in a limousine? This is a question that baffles many minds. The answer is
hard no.
You're not allowed to consume alcohol or marijuana drugs in any motor vehicle, regardless of if it's in motion, parked on your driveway. You cannot do it. The only exemption is that of an RV when it's parked in mode of temporary dwelling as opposed to being on the road. He's leaving. He's running away.
He's got the cough fit.
Oh. The Sarge has left the building.
But it's kind of like a boat too, right? A lot of people think you can just drink on your boat, but that's not the case. There are regulations that must be followed in order for that, like it to be, moored, has to have cooking and washroom facilities, sleeping facilities. There's all these different things that have to be in place in order for you to drink on your vessel. So, there's different regulations for different modes of transportation.
There's rules. There's rules about everything.
Doesn't need cooking.
Doesn't need cooking?
Nope, but it needs a bathroom.
Needs a toilet.
Yes, a head.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a common thing, and we have people in the industry, in the limousine industry, who are constantly battling with their clients who say, "I want to drink in the back of the limo," and then just look the other way, and that driver is going to be held responsible, as will people in the back. So everyone gets charged because there's one for consuming or having the open alcohol, and then there's one for driving with it. So there's charges for everybody. Don't do that to your limo driver. They don't need those things. They're professional drivers. You're making their lives miserable. License plate covering provided by dealers. I don't. There's an exclamation point there, not a question.
Allowed.
Not allowed. You're not allowed to obstruct your plate.
Not any portion of your plate can be covered. And why would you want to advertise for your dealership? What are they giving you?
Yes.
Are they paying you to advertise the name on the back of your car? No.
Even if they were, it's still illegal. They're not covering the ticket that they're putting in your way because they are giving you effectively the rights to a ticket.
Clear covers? What do you think about them?
Well, personally, if it truly doesn't obstruct, I wouldn't have much of a reason, but I probably wouldn't have noticed it. So the truth is, if I'm riding behind you and I see it, if I see it, it means it's obstructing. It's causing, whether it be because it's not optically correct, and people will say, well, what do you mean? I mean, in the molding process, the bending of plastic that is not optically correct means that you are obscuring portions of that plate. And people say, well, that's not, you can totally read it. Like maybe from this angle, maybe the reflection it's casting causes issues. Maybe it's polarized so you can't get cameras to read it. There's a ton of things into play that make it not so cool. Now, one question that has come up many a time is they're available for sale from the MTO. And I don't have much to say about that other than I would assume that is a contract location. There are many Service Ontario locations that are owned and operated by the government and some that are contracted to take care of certain functions, but they are also themselves a business. So I don't think that's cool. But it's not a defense.
Cool either.
Canadian Tire sells them. They can't be held responsible for selling it to you either.
You know what, though? If you read on the packaging, it says check local and state laws to see if legal.
Yes. No, you can buy lots of things that are not legal for use on the road, but they're legal for use off the road, like some custom exhaust systems. Perfectly legal on the track, not legal for the street. I have a question about tint. What percentage of tint can I have on the front windshield? Sarge.
Yeah, that would be a
Goose
hard
egg.
0.
Yes. Well, there is a tiny caveat that if your vehicle was manufactured before 2017, you can have a 3-inch or 75 millimeter tint strip from the top of the window down to the PS1 line, which is and the PS1 line. I didn't know until I looked it up what a PS1 line was.
Mm-hmm.
The PS1 marking is the clarity of the windshield. What color is it, tinted or not? The PS2 is apparently tinted. The PS1 is untinted. I didn't know that.
But there actually is a marking on your windshield, and if you look for it, you'll be able to see it.
It's there in etch, and the deal is if your vehicle is 2016 or older, you can have that tint strip, the sun strip, the brow.
Yep.
You can't have it at any newer vehicle, and there's no reason to have it. There's people say, I can't see, it's sensitive light. Sunglasses,
Perfectly legal.
yeah. Visors that come down.
Yeah. Perfectly legal.
Yeah. Anything else not legal. But the arguments, like some places allow front windshields to be tinted. Even in Canada, there's one province I think that allows front windshield tint.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why it would make your job as a vehicle operator harder to do.
Yeah.
Because you can't see out. And then it gets dark out sometimes. And makes it worse.
You know you have regular listeners when they say, that's the wrong tint sound effect. That's the tint sound
There
effect.
you go.
Chase coming in. Oh, wait, are you still in Saskatchewan or have you moved? Okay. Alex wants to know, do you buy an electric bicycle or regular bicycle? And the answer is, that's a very good question. Because it's always been electric bicycle under the criminal code.
Absolutely. Even an e-bike that has an exemption for licensing, yes, you can get an impaired driving charge on an electric bicycle.
Lawn tractor, golf cart, anything other than muscular power qualifies as a motor vehicle under the Criminal Code of Canada. When you talk about regular bicycle, that's the yet to be determined because a recent court ruling where there was a death or as a result of boating.
Yep. In a canoe.
In a canoe. So that means that a conveyance is a conveyance.
Yep, absolutely.
Bicycle might be criminal code.
I don't know if it's been tried or tested yet, but it may be something coming up soon. Your bicycle, your conveyance.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Somebody just asked another interesting question. Josh wants to know, why can cops have stickers in the windshield wiper area, but we can't? I don't know what windshield wiper stickers we would have. So what we say often is that, okay, now I understand what he's saying. So I will show you the picture that Josh sent, and it is the fallen officer sticker. That is technically within it's being, the windshield wiper is wiping over it.
Yep.
And we have often said that if you have stickers in that area, that is not okay. That sticker is commemorating the lives of officers killed in the line of duty, I believe, in the vehicles.
Yes, for the division that the vehicle belongs to.
That's a traffic card.
And technically, is it unlawful?
Well, technically, if it's obscuring the vision of a driver, that is unlawful.
Yeah,
and maybe that's an interesting conversation that should go up in the top right-hand corner above the windshield wiper to make it legal. Maybe that's a conversation we should have. Because just looking at that photo, there is clearly a space where it could go. I appreciate you bringing that up to us because as we say about all things, we're always interested in making sure that things are done right. And when you bring up good points like that, it's worthy of discussions with the bosses. What if you accidentally start a wildfire? That's a very random question.
Wow.
Very random indeed.
Call 911.
Yeah. I would be, hopefully you have a cell phone or satellite phone or where wildfires occur. Can they happen just anywhere? They're wild. I got nothing. What did I just press here? What about driver and passenger window? I'm assuming this is follow-up questions about tint. So the limit of the tint for safety regulations under the guide say that you can have no more than 30% light blockage for those windows. Now, if you tint those windows with the 30% and it's dark outside and we can't see in, or use reflective tint, you're still obscuring the interior of the vehicle, and you can still be charged under the HTA for obscuring the interior of your vehicle with color or reflective tint. Essentially, drivers drivers, pedestrians, police need to be able to see inside. We need to be able to know if you're wearing your seatbelt, if you're using your phone, if you're drinking alcohol, if we can describe you, in the event that you're involved in something. And really as simple as a pedestrian crossing the street being able to make eye contact, that nonverbal communication when they need to know if you see them and they see you. You can't see if you have darker tint. So tinted windows are a very subjective for one charge and very specific for another. And it depends. Would you add anything to that? He wasn't paying attention.
Sorry, I was doing other policey type things.
We're talking about the tinted side windows and the fact that not only could you be charged for and your plates be pulled for unsafe vehicle if it was beyond the 30%, but even if it was lighter than that, but you couldn't see in because it was dark outside. Atmospheric conditions come into play.
Yeah,
it's not so simple as it's just legal or not legal. It has to be. You have to be able to see inside the vehicle.
Well, there is a lawful limit to get your car certified. I don't know if you said that.
I did.
Oh, okay.
And that would get your plates pulled, but you could get that other charge. Okay, moving along. Do you like pineapple on your pizza?
Yes.
Love it.
Really?
Yes.
Double pineapple, double sauce. Yes.
I'll have it, but I don't think I opt for. I never say I really want some pineapple.
A Hawaiian pizza is one of the best pizzas you can get.
And it's a Canadian pizza, is it not?
It is.
It was created in Canada. Yeah. Oh, hey. This is the Canadian show asking a triggering question, not for me, but for cyclist people. Do bicycles need to stop at all stop signs and red lights?
Yes.
I've been called out in the media because, well, not the media didn't call me out, but cyclists don't like when I say that they have to stop. There's a big movement. There's a group of people who want to bring something called the Idaho Stop to Ontario, which would treat stop signs like yield signs. So if no one was around, you could go, and if you had someone around, you have to stop. But at the moment, the way the law reads, and in the city of Toronto should always be adhered to, is that a stop sign is a stop sign for all vehicles, including bicycles. And red lights, absolutely. See, the problem is we have cyclists, I shouldn't say all cyclists, but we have many cyclists who treat stop signs and red lights as, nothing. They just sail through them, and very often they get very hurt. It's unfortunate. The idea is to protect everyone, as well as pedestrians.
Absolutely.
And other vulnerable road users who are counting on the behavior that's being anticipated. They're about to cross. They look, they see. Well, I've seen with my own eyes cyclists who whiz through and narrowly miss pedestrians who are stepping off because they've looked. Everyone has to stop, right? They should.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh,
totally agree.
And then the following question, also from the Canadian show, who, by the way, has 2 nights a week live stream that does Canadian-themed trivia. It's a lot of fun. I'm eating a burger while driving. Is that illegal? No, as long as it doesn't interfere with your ability to safely operate the vehicle.
Depends.
So if you were really into that burger and you were unable to, keep your eyes open because you were just good. Oh, they closed it so that people wouldn't go in. You were locked out. Erin just showed up, but she didn't have keys.
You can swipe.
Yeah, your access card should have opened it. Okay, Christmas lights on a vehicle. What's the deal? Well,
To the front, to the back, to the
it
side, to
depends
the
on
top,
where it's
to the
visible.
bottom.
Depends on what power. Depends if it's flashing. Depends on what color. Depends. I was. Yeah.
Does it depend?
It depends. We've said it. Now it's just continuously said. The deal is that if you have bright flashing lights on your vehicle and they're red and blue, that's police lights. That's very not okay. Low power. There's some ones that if you put on the inside and it was below the window level, I wouldn't have much of an issue with a low power flashing Christmassy thing that was part of a theme. But technically speaking, if you have flashing red or blue lights, you got a problem.
Yep.
If you can find amber Christmas lights, you'd be okay.
Flashing green lights to the front.
That would be a problem.
Yeah.
But it really a beacon that's high power as opposed to a little accent. There are some that are sold, like there were the chili pepper lights. Remember the chilies that people used to put around their things? If they didn't flash, I don't know. Was it a big problem? Christmas spirit. Erin's going through her mail and shredding paper, and we can hear every crinkle of every page. All right. Is it illegal to drive around a roundabout for an hour?
No.
No.
It isn't. In fact, that's probably, if you miss your exit, that's probably the safest, most efficient thing to do.
Specifically an hour.
You know what? When I was in Britain in the summertime, I missed my exit, so I just did another loop.
Another loop is one thing. An hour might get you investigated for impaired operation.
Well, you'd be dizzy afterwards.
Oh my, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about roundabouts, let's talk about entering and exiting and whether or not you need to signal your intention to do either. I think in Europe you were saying you signal in and out?
Yes, you signal in and out, and when you're coming in, you're signaling the direction that you want to actually exit. So if it was not a roundabout and you wanted to make a right turn, you would signal right. Now, you're driving on the left-hand side of the road, so you're turning left to actually make a right turn to exit.
Because we're driving on the wrong side of the road?
Not the wrong side.
The right for there, but the wrong for here?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to think about that. Because here, and we've had our friend Scott Marshall talk about this, you're following the road into it. So on entering, you need not signal in here. Although if you're in a multi-lane, you'd have to signal changes within.
Yes.
But when you're exiting, you are making a change of direction. That road is now, you follow in and you stay in that loop. And as long as you're in that loop, you don't need to signal out until you have to signal out, which is when you're going to exit. And I really, 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 really wish people would do this because roundabouts are said to be safer, but you have to know how to use them.
Yeah.
And so many people, in fact, 99.99%, and that's my own math, getting that number. But when I drive, I know when signals out. You have no idea what they're about to do, and it's through sheer luck that no one crashes on a daily basis.
You know what? The person in the roundabout actually has the right of way.
True.
So once somebody has lawfully entered it safely, they have the right of way to exit whenever they want to, and everybody else has to wait for them.
But they got to tell people what they're doing.
If they decide that they're making a turn, they got to signal it.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Can you pass on a solid yellow line? Well, there's no ticket for crossing a yellow line. The yellow line means that traffic on the other side of it is coming at you. And you need to signal, and you're going against the advice of like engineers suggesting that's a bad idea.
So is it against the law for just doing the act? No. But a solid yellow line usually means that you can't see far enough ahead to do it safely. So there's an offense there if you do it within, a crest of grade, a turn on the road, a bridge, viaduct, railway crossing, all those things.
Well, at the end of the day, you're responsible for what happens. If you do it and you cause a collision, it's on you.
Yep. So those little yellow things that are in the middle of the road, they're called clues.
Kevin wants to know what your favorite patrol car to drive is.
I like the Explorers.
I mean, I fit in the Explorer,
Yep.
but I miss the Crown Vics.
I miss the old. Remember we had when we started
The old big long ones?
The old big long ones.
What's an old big long one?
The old style Crown.
I think it was a. Or
There was
was it a
difference.
Caprice?
Oh, well, the
No,
Caprice was a Caprice.
Well, we did have a Caprice.
we had both.
Yep.
But they were like boats.
Yeah.
I thought the new Crown Vic was the big Crown Vic. There was a
No,
No.
that's the
Crown Vic?
smallest. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Back in the 90s?
Actually,
This
that's
thing
true.
was
My
like-
grandfather had one, he had the old Lincoln, which I think was the same base.
Probably the same size.
That was an enormous vehicle. You're right. Bikes on sidewalks, yes or no? You're going to love this. Depends. E-bikes, hard no. That's part of the legislation. Part of well, actually, it's part of the bylaws. I think every jurisdiction has its own when it comes to that, but absolutely not permitted on the sidewalk in Toronto. When we talk about bicycles, though, it used to be diameter of tire in Toronto. So if you had small tires, you could go on the sidewalk, and if you had big tires, you couldn't. Well, the reason for that was because children's bicycles had small tires. And then people were buying these folding bikes for commuting, and then everyone was on the sidewalk, and they changed it to age. If you are 14 years old or older, you may not be on the sidewalk. If you are under 14, you can operate a bicycle on the sidewalk, and you are still responsible for doing so safely. Sidewalks used by people who walk and roll and have needs.
That's maybe why they call it a sidewalk.
What is going on? Wonder if someone makes a license plate cover with AS1 glass. I do not know. This is talking about whether or not they are optically correct. What happens if you don't report it when you hit a deer? Have you ever hit a deer?
I have.
Doe a deer?
Well, I've done it multiple times, unfortunately.
Really?
Yep.
I've yet to, and I don't plan on it. I don't want to.
So is it a collision? Yes. Is it over $2,000 damaged?
Probably.
Probably. Needs to be reported.
Whatever happened to the safety bug? Do we still have the safety bug?
I haven't.
I
I
haven't
don't think
seen
so.
it in years, so I would say no.
I haven't seen it either. I used to drive the safety bug. I worked Caravana one year with Sean Omrod. Sean Omrod at the time was very much in the same look and size and shape of me. Both of us were in there. We got in. The compression of the suspension dropped it to the ground. We couldn't get over a driveway. We actually had to get out to let it get up. Yeah, it was a mess. But a cute car. Stick shift. It was a stick shift.
Yes, it was.
It was fun to drive. But I wonder if it's gone.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Every service had one. OPP had one. York had one. And we had some pictures with all of them in the same place.
Yep.
And I think they were donated.
Yes, there were.
Yeah. Which division is the best division to work for in TPS?
Depends on what you like, I guess. We're going to say traffic because
The
that's
only
what we
answer
like.
is traffic. It's the best place on the world.
But each division, a non-traffic division, has its own demographics and different style or types of policing. But yeah, it depends on where you are. Like I've worked 31 division and 22, as well as a variety of other places non-uniform. But those uniform stations were great for me, and I loved every minute of it. So I would tell you, probably everybody you talk to, no matter what division they are at, they like where they are. So.
We are biased based on where we work.
Yeah.
And we get paid bonuses whenever we sit. No. I worked in different places. I really enjoy working here, and it's where I always wanted to work. But I'm a traffic guy at heart and in reality. So I am biased. You'd have to, the people that don't want to do traffic, some people hate traffic. I don't understand it, but they do. They just don't want to do traffic stuff. I don't know why.
They just don't want to be cool like us.
You know what? We often say that that even the ETF, they need heroes, and they have to keep it separate. That's why traffic exists. So ETF, for those who don't know what ETF is, it's the ninjas of our service, the emergency what is it called? Not task force. I was going to call it tactical. I got all tongue tied. It's the emergency task force, like SWAT. SWAT is so every emergency team or tactical team has a different name for every service because everyone's got to be special.
What does SWAT stand for?
Special weapons and tactics. Why do I know that better than ETF?
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Because it's on every American show you watch.
Movies. Yes. That's why people think that the light can't be on in most motor vehicles, because I'm convinced it's because of the movies. Someone yelled at someone else. Here's a question that involves off-road vehicles. Why are dirt bikes road legal but not ATVs? So I think we have to correct something.
So it is completely the opposite. There is no dirt bike that is legal to be on the road at all.
There are dual sport that are licensed and manufactured for both.
Yep.
That's different.
Yep, absolutely. And they have lights and turn signals and horns and stuff like that. But no dirt bike is allowed on. ATVs, following certain conditions on certain roads, are allowed to travel down the roadway. On the far right, at a certain speed. But dirt bikes, nope, none.
Michael says, "Who hates traffic services?" ? There is the motor squad, and then Marine is the second coolest. ETF is the third. Well, Michael knows where it's at, so he's ranked TSV with motor squad is number one. I can't disagree. What is this? Are smoky taillights legal? I see them all over. I'll let you take this one.
Really? You think I have an opinion on that one too?
Oddly
Why
enough.
in the world would you tint your taillights so that the person following behind you does not know when you're stopping? It is the silliest thing I've ever heard, and no, it is definitely not legal.
And people say, well, I could totally see where it no. It has to be discernible at 150 meters, and it has to be discernible to the average Joe who's not watching it with a telescope to determine whether or not your light is activating. The problem is that when you start tinting these things that are only manufactured just enough to pass the requirements, you're ruining it. Now, I've had people argue, well, what if you tint it, but then you put a more powerful bulb in it? Maybe, possibly, but chances are no.
So you want to take the area that it's shown in and make it smaller. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. We call these things clues. When you get rear-ended, we write it down and say this person modified their stuff to make it less visible, and then very likely your insurance company is going to increase.
Read that and go, hey,
Yeah.
why would you do that? You're partially at cause for this.
Yes, and oddly enough, just because we don't charge you for something, or maybe we do, they also determine after the fact fault. I thought you had to report to the ministry if you hit a deer. Do you have to report to the ministry if you hit a deer?
The Ministry of Transportation, yes, if the damage is over $2,000.
Or maybe they're talking about a different ministry.
So if
Conservation?
if you kill a deer,
Oh.
you do have to report it.
Good to know. I'm
Mr.
not
Natural
familiar with
Resources.
this. But so if you don't kill the deer, but then you kill the deer because you want to eat the deer, you have to have a hunting tag.
You can't do that.
You can't eat the deer.
Well, you can't kill the deer after you.
What if he really just looks like he wants to die?
So there are certain circumstances where, yes, euthanizing a deer that has been involved in a collision is appropriate.
I shouldn't be laughing
And-
about this.
You have to report it.
Oh my goodness! That donut. What was in that donut she gave me?
I don't know.
Iris
Sugar.
gave me yeah. Oh, okay. It was not a powdered donut. As my nose just happens to be itchy. Let's see. Is it illegal to dumpster dive? Most dumpsters are on private property, so you'd be trespassing for the first place.
Yeah,
And
maybe
dumpsters.
they let you do it.
I thought there was something illegal about it, but I don't know.
But to
Maybe municipalities might have
like
laws about
okay,
it,
so
So if you're like on
dumpster diving is obviously a term for something else.
going it's going through. So if you go into commercial areas, there was a big thing in New York region at one point. It was on the news where people were going through and stealing technology and things that were being thrown out that were still like if it's at the curb, it's one thing, but if it's on the property, it was another thing. There's a whole big. We're traffic cops.
I thought you were actually talking about diving into.
A dumpster. No, not dumpster like jumping off a platform. I mean, going into a dumpster behind a business and taking stuff out. A lot of stuff gets thrown out, and I think it's protected until it's at the curb or picked up, and then when it's actually thrown out into the dump, it's complicated, and I don't actually know the answer.
Yeah, me neither.
Will the new three-wheel electrics be legalized as cars? I don't know. I don't know what the three-wheel electrics are. Are we talking about electric bicycles?
Yeah, which one are you talking about?
I don't know.
We currently have three-wheeled gas-powered.
Well, motorcycles. They're motorcycles.
They are classified as motorcycles. Even the Polaris one, which is a sit-down side-by-side three-wheeled with a seatbelt.
It requires a helmet.
It requires a helmet and a motorcycle license.
There is-
or
well, actually-
a three-wheeled.
It's an
Designation.
there's an exemption. You can drive it with a G. With like the Slingshot G license, there's an exemption that does not require a motorcycle license.
I think this one you and I are going to have to.
To look it up?
Yep.
Unless the pilot has expired, there was a pilot that allowed a G class license to operate it, but you still had to wear a helmet. And
And it was just specifically for the Slingshot because it was a side-by-side as opposed to, say, the Can-Am Spider that is a ride-upon.
right upon three-wheel motorcycle.
Yep.
But the Spider side-by-side steering wheel like a car, it was an exemption for that vehicle and that style of vehicle, like a T-Rex as well.
Oh,
And but I see people who don't wear helmets. They take the helmets off and ride without them, not because it messes with their hair. Illegal.
Yep.
I've laid many charges for that. Who was your first celebrity crush? I'm going to assume it was you. They were asking because I don't talk about this stuff.
Mine was Joe McIntyre from the New Kids on the
I
Block.
was going to say, who is that? I have no idea who that is.
Showing your age.
Yeah, I know.
Did I have a celebrity crush? Who's the girl from The Net? I liked her.
The Net? I don't even know what that is.
She was also in
It's like the internet?
Well, it was a movie about the internet. She was on the bus that can't stop movie, and she was on the Miss
Speed?
Speed. That's the one. What's her name? I thought
I don't know.
she was an attractive woman. Sandra Bullock, my
There you
wife.
go.
And oddly enough, my wife answers that one. And Matt Moyer, our boss, says dumpster diving, is that the sport? How does one train? Or is that a sport? How does one train? I got to know more.
Up and coming Olympic sport.
It's an up and coming. Yes, on the next Olympics. Hey, are you supposed to be doing something cool in where you are? You're watching our show. That's amazing. It's nice when the boss watches the show.
Absolutely, yeah.
And my
We
wife,
miss him here, so
Yeah,
it's
we
as
do
close as he gets.
we do miss him. But thank you for dropping in. My wife is not impressed with my Sandra Bullock. That's the closest I can come up with a crush.
Everybody's got a crush. Come on.
She had a crush. I don't remember who it was.
Kelly LeBrock.
Oh, from Weird Science.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, she was married to martial arts man. What was his name? He was the once volunteer.
Jean-Claude?
No.
Oh.
I can't remember his name. He was in all the "I'm Gonna Kill You" movies. Like they were that every movie. He was a cop who had somebody killed, and he was the vengeance. And he's a martial artist. He was in Aikido. I used to know his name. I can't remember his name anymore. Who am I talking about? Okay, from the audience, who am I talking about? Who did Kelly LeBrock was married to? Steven Seagal. Thank you, Robbie Chaplin.
Oh, okay.
Not Liam Neeson, unless that was, and people guessing all, but Steven Seagal. Thank you, John. Everyone knows it now. Now that everyone knows it. Okay, too funny.
He actually is a police officer.
Well, he
Right now,
got into
isn't
a
he?
whole bunch of trouble.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Yeah, he was like
was a sheriff's
a
deputy.
reserve chief, and there was all sorts of things. He did some
Oh.
things he wasn't supposed to do, and then he got tossed out, and then
Ruh-roh.
somebody else took him, and yeah, it was all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I met him in Toronto. He was filming here, and I still couldn't remember his name. That's terrible. Consequences of driving alone with a G1. My favorite question. If you are driving a vehicle without a supervising G with 4 years of experience, you are eligible for this and more. And then we got to go. This is our last question. This and more. So you are eligible for a ticket for Drive G1 or G1 Drive unaccompanied. You are eligible for, either the fact that you can be charged for no insurance because you're not a licensed driver. That's one. Or you can't. It's actually technically it's the owner of the vehicle will be charged for permit or for allowing you to be in control of that vehicle. If you took it without consent, you're eligible for the wonderful, wonderful charge of it's criminal to take vehicle without consent. If you took it without consent. Otherwise, if someone gave you consent, they can be charged for allowing you to drive in contravention of a condition. So that's a thing. What else? Whatever reason we're going to pull you over for, we charge you for that too.
What happens when you actually get convicted?
Well, you get a 30-day suspension on your first, a 90-day on your second, and the third time you get kicked out. Now I'm always curious. It's not 3 times for the same offense. It's 3 offenses that cause a suspension whilst a G1. So if you get a ticket that carries 4 demerit points, it's a suspension the first time. If you then drive unaccompanied the second time, I believe you to be triggering the 90-day. And if you accumulated points or if you had any one of those repeats, boom, it's a bad day at the office.
If you just read that little handbook that they hand out before you go write that driving test, you would probably know the answers to some of these questions.
You know what they call that? A clue.
A clue.
Yeah.
One of our mysterious LinkedIn anonymous viewers says, "Don't do any movie review episodes."
No kidding.
Who's that guy in the thing when he does the thing? Yeah, he was with the other one, and they did the thing.
Our memory. That's our problem.
I used to know stuff, but now I don't. You know what? I'm using all of my available memory power to retain information about the Highway Traffic Act. Thus, everything else is now second shelf and requires all sorts of rhyming and miming to trigger. That's what it is.
So we have a couple of follow-up things that we have to look into.
Which ones are those? Let me write them down.
Well, dumpster diving.
Yes, because the boss wants to know if it's an Olympic sport.
There you go. Spider. License cloud for spider.
Yes. So now that one's an easy one.
We can do it later. We'll report back tomorrow.
Okay, that's a reason to come back.
There you go.
Come back tomorrow when we do this all again, 10 a.m. for the win. We'll be actually. I've got to find out. I will find out. It's either going to be 9:30 or 10, depending on if we go live with Jerry Agar. I think Jerry Agar is actually next week, but I'm not here next week, which might motivate him to do it again tomorrow. We will find out, and we will post it on our Twitter account. By the way, you can go to trafficcop.ca to get into my wonderful link tree, which gives you links to all of the Toronto Police stuff and things when it comes to social media. It also gives you some great links, like if you're going to sell a car or you're going to buy a car, is it stolen? That's the RCMP link. We put it there. It's on all our link trees. If you are going to loan your vehicle to someone else, you want to check to see if they're a licensed driver, you can do that. You can take their license number, you take some other information. It will provide status because you don't want to lend your vehicle to someone who is unlicensed because, bad things happen to you. All right, we are out of here. Back tomorrow. Here's a song. Enjoy it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody.
You know, you said stuff and things twice.
I say stuff and things all the time.
Stuff and things.
Stuff and stuff.
Was it? What's that other stuff? The Stay Puff. That's a different thing.
That's a marshmallow.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get freed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,